Here's a bonus module on virtual or remote selling principles. And I talk to clients about a top 10 principles and practices when it comes to remote selling. Now, you don't have to be a genius to realize that things change in the remote world. And in our current climate, we know that that's been really difficult. And for the foreseeable future, we're going to be looking at a blended approach to working with clients, some in person, but a lot of our interactions will be virtual or remote. So the program is still valid, but there are some considerations that we need to take as we think about virtual or remote selling with our clients. So the first principle I want to talk about is to remember to follow your proven sales process. Prepare for the interactions as usual, prime yourself, prime your client, recap on your proven process and make sure that you're following the model. And obviously we are using our Rise and Prepare to Inspire model, but in particular for a meeting, the Inspire sales process is critical to follow. Second tip, ensure as you're engaging with your client, the reason why or your hook is really powerful. And if you don't, you risk a cancellation. Your clients are busier than ever. It's easier than ever to cancel when it's a remote meeting. So you must remember to make the reason why their reason why, and it must be more compelling than ever before. Third, send an agenda and an invitation. So once you've got the client to agree to a meeting, send an agenda, high level, 3 or 4 items, and a meeting invitation, electronic invitation, so it fills their calendar with the time slot that you've booked. And in terms of the heading of that meeting, use the hook that you've gained the meeting. Don't just put meeting with Justin, for example. Put the hook that you've used to gain the meeting as the header for the invitation. So they're really compelled to join you. And then once you have it confirmed, the day before, send a reminder. Make sure that they're fully engaged and understand why they're meeting with you. Remember also that when you dial into a video call with a client, even if they don't switch their camera on, put your camera on. What it enables you to do is look at the camera, because a video call is so much better than a phone call. Even if you can't see the other person, they can see you, you can convey your messages, and you can use all of this 93% of our communication mix. Remember, we will talk about this in the program. If you think about how you convey your message, only 7% is the language. The remaining 93% is how you deliver it and the way you use your body to get across your key points. So you can only do that if you're on video. Fifth, make sure you've prepared in advance. Turn off all notifications. Practice using your platform. Get prepared. Manage anything that might come up. Silence any notifications. Maybe silence your phone. Turn off anything in the background, because you want to make sure that you're really confident and competent at handling the platform that you're using for engaging your client. This is a professional environment, and do the preparation in advance. You will thank yourself for doing it. 6 is about being early and being prepared. Remember what happens when you invite a client to a video call. You're no longer going to see them in their premises, and they are effectively coming to see you remotely in yours. So because the client sees it as your domain, you have to take control of the setting. We talked about getting in early, welcome them, drive the agenda and the meeting, not in a negative way, not in a controlling way, but in one way you create authority and credibility for yourself and for your client. 7, look at the camera. You'll notice when I record these videos, I'm looking at the camera, not at the screen, because the minute you look at the screen, you take your eyes off the person and you break the eye contact. So you must keep looking at the camera as much as possible. And by making eye contact with the camera, you maintain rapport and the connection, but it takes practice, because very often on video calls, we're also seeing either an image of them, which we're drawn to, our eyes drawn to the image of them on the screen, or we're seeing a picture of ourselves and our eyes are drawn to that. So remember, practice, practice, practice. Look at the camera lens. That's where the focal point of engagement and rapport with your client exists. Number 8, start with rapport. So get them engaged. Remember, this is like a real meeting. You want to get engagement going, the connection going, and you want the conversations to start flowing before you start selling. It's even more important in a virtual environment because you haven't got the ability to shake hands, to make contact, to give them a reassuring, perhaps tap on the shoulder, as you may well do when you're in a normal physical setting. So everything you can that's at your disposal, and rapport is really important. Remember, rapport, curiosity, questioning, and listening. That's what will really establish the relationship right from the off. Number 9, remember, you must listen carefully at all times, but it's even more important in a video call, because what we'll find is there's a slight delay. It's only slight, but that delay will potentially cause an overlap. So you might be asking a question, or the client might be finishing off. You have to listen carefully for the space and create the space. Use pauses and make sure that you allow the space for your client to finish any answers, continue their discussions. And when you ask questions, then pause. When they've finished, even if you have to leave a small pause when they've finished, much better to do that than to be tripping up over each other with conversation. Finally, make sure when you've finished your meeting, you've followed the process, you've used our Inspire process, and what you should be doing now is summarizing. Finish at the end. You've listened carefully, you've got all the actions. Summarize where you are. Even more important in a virtual setting. Summarize where you are. Check with your customer that the summary is right. Have I covered everything? Have I got everything? Then confirm the actions. This is what I've noted. This is what I'm committed to do. This is what I need you to do. Is that okay? Great. Okay, and the next steps from here are, and then book the next step in your diary. Confirm with the customer. We cover this in the model later on, but virtual and remote selling is even more important. When is the next interaction? When will that be? Again, schedule it in the diary, and the whole loop here goes again. It's really important that we get this distinction right. We don't change the way we approach it. We have to adapt and modify some of the things that are happening and the way we interact and control the meeting. Because if we don't take that control, we'll find that sales start to slip away from us in the virtual setting. So this integrates with our sales model, but it is a nuance that we have to come to terms with and get a grip on. Take some practice. And one of the other things I encourage clients to do is practice with colleagues, practice with family, practice with friends, so that this becomes second nature for you as you're managing these virtual meetings. It's very, very simple once you know how, but muscle memory is really important. Get practicing this as you go forward. Okay, there is also a final reminder here of all of the 10 steps together. This asset will be here as part of the module. So download this, maybe put the top 10 somewhere where you can see it. Certainly for the initial discussions and meetings with customers, it'll act as a really strong reminder of how you manage your process. Okay, this is the bonus module. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it's useful for you. Start to think about now, how do you put these different steps into practice as you sell virtually and remotely to your clients?